Yes, welcome and come well. Am I as I am, as you are? Today we'll be touching upon, I guess you could say, the topic of personality. What is a personality? Why do we have this thing called personality? And I felt this was relevant to touch upon because this plays a big role um, in relationships, of course, partnerships, companionships, marriages, any kind of union of some sort between two individuals, um, in a atmosphere of care and commitment. Um, so basically, I have a few one-liners that I had want to touch upon, basically, and I guess we can take it from there, and things will progress from that point further. Okay, first thing is, are you using or utilizing your personalities well? Because in the way you use and or utilize your personalities determines the very quality of your health, mental health and emotional health. Make sure it is you that is using your personalities to your benefit and to make sure it is not them that are using you. But what do you mean by this? Okay. Um, like a video game, right? In a video game, you have different players you can play as. You can play as, even the game Street Fighter, you have Ken, you can play as Ryu, you can play as Dhalsim, you can play as Bison, you can play as Chun-Li. I mean, you have all these different characters you can play with, right? And then it's you who is holding the controller, playing the game, playing the video game. So it's also you which determines which player you play as in the situation, the atmosphere you find yourself in. We create personalities according to our atmosphere, our environment, situations, circumstances with different people and amongst different crowds or different groups or amongst of different individuals. Um, so these personalities, you have two ways of looking at personality. One way it was created, and that's where your parents and family come in because your personality was created or had to have some kind of foundation of personality before the structure foundation appeared. That foundation of personality was created by your mother, your father, your family, um, or if you was just around your mother, or you was just around your father, his family, or her family, or um, people around you, things that you've seen, things that you've reacted to, and this creates a certain kind of persona or personality, a certain kind of mask. And we become stuck to this mask, like the movie Jim Carrey with the mask. He became stuck to the mask. Metaphysically, that's symbolic of being stuck to that personality. And then the other side, the other second part of looking at personality is a personality which you create consciously. So it's you choosing the people to be around, you choosing where you want to be, how you want to move in life. And whatever circumstances or situations may arise from that. And you seeing an action and then reacting or responding to that situation. And then that creates a character within you and basically substantiates a behavior that you become or that you are that develops within you and as you. So you have two ways of looking at personality. One, one that was created from you as a child, and then two, the other one, which was a personality which you create yourself consciously. So one was created subconsciously as a child, as a baby, as an infant or baby, or infant, a baby, a child, and a kid. And then another understanding of personality which was created by you, the preteen or the pre-adult or the adult, as you go through this experience. So you have two ways of looking at what is personality. But no matter how you look at it, it's a form of creation. It was something which was created for you subconsciously and by you consciously. So one was created subconsciously, and the other side of personality was created by you consciously. But either way you look at it, whether subconsciously or consciously, it's still a form of creation, which is basically another way of saying an illusion or an accumulation or a gathering that gathered around this swirl or this nucleus or this core of a spiral, which is you and your true nature and what you truly are. Not who you truly are, but what you truly are. Okay? So as these things create their self and you're going through experiences through this, as your existence is going through this experience, you're accumulating certain personalities according to certain atmospheres, certain people, certain situations, certain circumstances, things that may happen, uh, things of that nature. So, these things are created as a child, as a teenager, as an adult, and they're created for certain reasons to survive certain atmospheres and circumstances and environments that you may find yourself in or put yourself in. And they're there to create their self for a reason, to maintain its own sanity or balance within that place at that time for whatever reason, for that reason, for its reason. And it's something that you put on. It's like a costume and a mask, or a mask and a costume that you put on to be in that atmosphere. Like if somebody wants to be a musician and they were a fireman or fire person or fireman in their lifetime at one time, they can't come to the stage or come into the music world with the fireman mentality. You see, or we create certain things according to the situations which we find ourselves in, and it itself takes on a role of itself as itself, to mold and fit into that certain understanding or that certain kind of situation. So basically, what I'm saying is these things are basically created things. They're basically created. And you have to know which personality to use at whatever given time and situation. These are bodies and players that you create. You can jump into this player and play as this one. You can jump into this player and play as this one at any given moment in time, at will. If you have enough control and discipline to switch to that player in the midst of that moment. So, like I said, it's basically to understand when you want to utilize these personalities or certain personalities that you may even want to create or that you have created or have created itself to play as it in a certain situation, to humble yourself, to medium yourself, to middle yourself, to censor yourself, and to play that out with a person or with the situation or environment. Depends on, what you're doing and where you find yourself at. Okay, so personality is just made up bodies or made up devices to use. Things that you utilize, jump in and out of when you need to at will, or when you want to or desire to, or whichever personality is required for that time at that moment to bring that balance again in self. Okay? So make sure that you're using it to your benefit and make sure that they're not using you, because you can become possessed by a personality. Depends on how much you played in that personality, and how long you played in that personality, and how much emotions and feelings played an actual factor and a role while you were in that personality, because that determines the type of glue that you have to that personality. The more stronger the glue gets that you become, the more stronger the glue gets in the midst of that personality that you're playing, the more possessed you become by that personality. The more possessed you become by that personality, the more hard or more difficult or more challenging it is to come out of that possession and jump into another personality when you need to at will to center yourself once again. Okay? And this is all dealing with cyclic nature and habits or habitual things that you're doing. You stay in this cycle. But the whole point is how to come out of this cycle. Okay? Awareness, control, discipline. Okay, get to the next thing. Personality is a potential attack on your imagination. If you become possessed by the personality which is present, if you become possessed by the personality which is present, and that can only happen if one lacks control, self-discipline, and knowledge of self. So what I mean by personality is a potential attack on your imagination. Once again, like I said before, personality can become a possession depending upon how cyclic you become within that personality, within that moment when the personality is present, and how emotionally drowned you become, and how engraved you become in the feeling of that personality will determine the strength of the glue that you are glued to that personality and now possessed by it. When you become possessed by that personality, you kind of lose contact with your imagination. Remember, as a child, you were many different people at one time. You was a fireman, and you was a cowboy, and you was a cowgirl, or you was different people. We played as kids in many different personalities to make the games fun and to make the interaction between other kids fun. So we played with multi-personalities in one day. You see, and what job does sometimes and school does, it says you are this and you do that. And this is your title. That's your tag. That's your name. That's what you do. That's your position. That's your label. That's your title. And we get stuck in these positions, labels, names, and titles and tags. And what that does, it creates a kind of stagnation in the realm of your imagination. Because now you can't imagine who you are anymore, because every day you got to be this person. Every morning you got to be this person. But you got to be this title, this label. So it stagnates the imagination, and it's a potential attack on your imagination. A personality is that. Depending upon your awareness and your control and discipline. So if you have high awareness or just clean or keen awareness, clear awareness, and you have some kind of sense of control and discipline, this personality cannot possess you no matter how long you keep it around, because you're only keeping it around to navigate yourself through a certain situation or circumstance or certain atmosphere for a specific reason. You're focused, you're clear on that. So it's not, it's not taking you over. You're actually the one that's in full control, because your awareness is there while your personality is there at the same time, because you know which is a body, a mask, and costume that you're using at that moment. Which means that you can take off this mask and this costume at any time and jump into another personality at will when you want to, if you want to, if you desire to, or if the situation requires it to happen, to maintain a balance within yourself. Okay. Next thing is what is known as a relationship is just another arena where thought and emotion get to run rampant and intensify itself in both directions within the experience or the personal experience. Because the more you remain in your experience, the more it gets to work on you subconsciously and gets to plant itself and house itself within you. The more it houses itself within you, the more it creates a home for itself within you. Um, so yeah, that's what a relationship basically is. Intimate relationship, uh, you know, with a significant other, mate, wife or husband, whatever, however you want to call it, whatever you want to coin it, and basically an intimate relationship, physical relationship. You can call it a sexual relationship, where emotions may run high, feelings may run high, thoughts may cycle, or uh, and that kind of understanding. So it's like you have it's an arena. Relationship is more of an arena. It's a place where these things get to run wild, and it's gonna run wild if you have no control and discipline over it. And it's counting on that you don't have any control or discipline because emotion and feeling are nothing but what you call their energies. And if you know anything about energy, energy is just an extreme. So these are certain extremities that will keep extreming itself. It has no disc- um, discrimination point where it can say, okay, I'm getting too extreme. Let me go over here now. It doesn't do that. It's an energy. It's going to keep going forward, and it doesn't know when to stop. It's going to keep going and going and going and going. So by you being aware, knowing that, you have to determine the stop point. And knowing that the relationship is an arena where it gets to play, you have to be mindful of that. Because the relationship, the arena of relationship is where thought and emotion get to run rampant and intensify itself if you are not aware of what you're doing and what is actually happening at that moment and what's going on and what it's really about. It's actually a school. It's learning time. So just make sure that you have control and discipline within yourself before you dive into that arena or that stadium we call a relationship, because that's the only place where it gets to play at. Intimate relationships, sexual relationship, physical relationships. That's where it becomes alive at. That's where it alives itself at. Okay? Okay, guess the next thing is uh care, compassion, and consideration make understanding irrelevant. And it alleviates, eliminates, or suspends the personality as a result. Um, and it also lessens the talking or discussions as well, because what you're doing now is you're speaking with silence and action more now. There's no verbal language, there's action language. Because when you care about somebody and you have compassion for them and consideration, you're considering what they're saying, you're considering what they're doing, um, and you respect it, whether you understand it or not. You see, in relationships, we're not here to understand each other. Nobody really understands each other. We're not here for understanding. We're here to just, if you truly care about the person, then care. If you have compassion for that individual, just have compassion. Consideration is basically considering that you also may be wrong in a circumstance or wrong in a situation, or just considering their point of view. I'll consider it. That kind of understand, that kind of balance. You're not saying that wrong, you're not saying that right. You're not looking to agree or disagree. You're not looking to believe or disbelieve. You're just saying, I'll consider what you're saying, and I'll just listen. It teaches you silence. And in being in silence, silence will also teach you action. So it's not always about talking and getting your point across when they say something. It's actually about listening. Just considering the point that they're coming from with no judgment or emotion towards it. So that's what people will, in relationships say, well, I don't understand you. Well, I don't understand you either. Well, I just can't understand you. That's why this can't go on. I don't understand you either. This is why this can't go on. But understanding has something to do with the logical and rational mind of the brain. Well, the logical and rational part of the brain. The mind is a free thing. The brain is the entrapped thing. That's the difference. So if you genuinely have genuine care and genuine compassion, genuine consideration for this individual, you don't care to understand them at all. You don't seek to understand them at all because you know that understanding is irrelevant. You hardly even understand yourself. How could you understand another? You see, so you don't put your focus on understanding a person. It's just, do I embrace them? Do I care about them? Do I have compassion for them, for my humanity, for their human existence as well? Can I consider what they're saying or what they're sharing with me without any judgment towards it? And that's the challenge. But it's a fun challenge. It's an interesting challenge. Okay. And it teaches you to be more silent with not only just within your voice verbally, but also within your mind. And as you become silent in your mind and your voice, you start to commit more action, which means you go directly towards how you feel. You be real to your heart and just go with your heart. A confrontation could have just spurted out, but if you want to hug them or embrace them 5 minutes later, you just go and hug them and embrace them. Don't worry about what your mind is saying or your brain is saying. Pardon me. Just do what you feel in that moment and don't worry about the outcome of it. Okay. The next thing is you're using a reflection of yourself to have an experience within yourself. Once again, you're using a reflection of yourself to have an experience within yourself. See, so that which is within you has to come as a physical projection because you are a physical thing and it knows that you are physical and you can only relate with physical things. So when the inside speaks to you on the outside, it has to come to you as an outside thing, a physical outside thing, so that that physical outside thing can turn and reflect back upon you and you can interact with it. So you're using a reflection of yourself, which is you, to have an experience within yourself. And this is also the point to basically be aware of who you're having a relationship with, because ultimately they become one of your organs or some of your organs, literally. And this is why they can get you mad on the outside and you feel something on the inside, because that which is outside is actually a projection of what is inside. So they get you frustrated, they get you, stressing you out, or you let them stress you out to certain degrees. Um, your heart starts to beat fast, you start sweating, you start yelling, and you may actually be deteriorating your health because you don't know that they actually are an organ within you. Just because they're on the outside doesn't mean that they are not within you. It is just a reflection of you. So it has to be of you, but it's actually within you. This is why they can affect your health and your organs and your heartbeat and your blood pressure and everything else because they're actually on the inside of you, not on the outside of you, ultimately, primarily. Pardon me. Next thing is monitor, supervise, and manage your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Not to eliminate, abandon, and neglect them, just to keep an eye on it. See? Just to keep an eye on it. To keep a distance from it, and to keep it a distance from you. So just monitor supervise, and manage your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And the point is not to eliminate or abandon or neglect them, because you can't. As long as you're in the physical body, you're going to go through this fluctuation from experience to experience. You're going to go through it. There's no stopping it. That's just how it is here in this body, at least this lifetime, this lifetime. Um, so you're watching it, you're looking at it, you're witnessing it, you're watching it. And as you're watching it, looking at it, and witnessing it, you're realizing that it is not you. For the very fact that you can look at it, watch it, and witness it. For the very fact that you can monitor it, supervise it, and manage it. You see, so you want to see where these things are at and how they play out and what's actually going on within this body that you took on in that moment or in this lifetime, pardon me. And as you be able to see that, as you're able to see that, you're seeing the thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And as you're seeing that, you see this space in between your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And with control and discipline, awareness, knowledge of self, and wisdom, you're able to see the space that's between you and that. And you acknowledge that space and that gap which is present. And the more you acknowledge that space and that gap which is present, the more you become that space and that gap which is present. And you just want to see how emotions play. You want to see how feelings are operate. You want to see how thoughts play in the brain, not the mind, but the brain. Thoughts don't exist in the mind. The mind thinks, and it's a thinking thing. It's a freedom. It's the liberator. The brain is the thoughts, or the thought that is of the past. Thinking is of the present moment. So as you're seeing these thoughts, you are thinking. You don't get trapped in the thought. You stay out the thought and you remain thinking and saying, wow, look at my thought over here. Look at my thought over here. Look at the thought how it's doing over here. Look how the thought is over here. When the thought is here, look how my body feels. Look how I'm feeling over here. What is this thing, this emotion thing amongst me? That's interesting. Well, that's what happens in this body. That's what happens in this brain. You see, so your mind, just be mind. That's all. Be mind. When the thought starts to play, be mind and rewind from it. Suspend from it. Suspend from the thought. Just to be mind. Just to be the mind. That's what I'm gonna tell you. Okay. Remain mind. Okay. Another one is don't let memory corrupt the imagination. Memory, of course, is of thoughts. The imagination is a thinking apparatus. Imagination is formless. Memory is formed. Memory is a fixed thing. It is something which already happened, which is already in the brain as a chemical. You withdraw that chemical, which is called acetylcholine, to recall something. When you recall something from your mind, you're saying, damn, what's the name of that song? Or what's the name of that person again? What's the name of that movie again? When you do that, you're recalling a chemical from the brain called acetylcholine from the hippocampus. I don't get too into biological talk with you, but chemical-wise or chemically-wise, this is what you're doing. But you're already calling, you're pulling something from a location which was already there, which means it's not in the frontal lobe. This is where imagination is at, in the frontal lobe. This is where you get new thinking, or where awareness resides, or consciousness resides. This is where memory is at. So you have two different locations in the brain where you can remain present and where you can remain in the past. So which part of the brain are you pulling from? See, memory can corrupt the imagination. If memory corrupts the imagination, you lose contact with your imagination. You lose access to your imagination slowly but surely. And you become fixed in that memory, which is why some people become fixed in positions and fixed in titles and fixed in labels and fixed in names because they've lost access to their imagination and haven't exercised that part of their mind, not brain, but mind, because they became fixed in a certain kind of personality. Okay. Um, two more. Uh, Programs and virtual realities. I'll just touch upon this real quick. Programs, virtual realities. When you get mad at the person, you're not getting mad at the person because the person doesn't really exist to that degree. You're getting mad at a program, or you're letting a program get you mad because everybody is a program. I am a program. You are a program. Everybody's a program. We've all been programmed prior to, and then we program ourselves currently. So we had a program set within us, and on top of that foundational program, we create the structure of a program on top of the already programmed self. Which is once again, I said personality has two ways of looking at it. One is subconsciously created, another one is consciously created. So it goes back to that same point once again. Okay. Or twice again, if you want to play with words. So you are a program, and if you get in dispute or argument or confrontation with your loved one, or the one that you care about, the one that you're with, you're a program. You get fixed in that. If you're arguing in the kitchen, you're in this program. These are two programs going at each other. What you have to do now is change your virtual reality, which means you leave that kitchen, go find and go take a walk outside, or go take a walk to the bedroom, or go take a walk to the bathroom. Just walk somewhere else. Because in that midst, the two programs are going at each other and they're creating a simulated world. Walk out of that world. And slowly but surely, this program will do the same as well. So you're a program. This is why when people get into fights or arguments or disputes, disagreements, after or during or after the dispute, they go and they say, yo, I got to take a walk. I got to get away from this atmosphere. I got to get away from this because ain't nothing going on here. We just keep arguing. Let me go take a walk. Let me get out the room. Just give me a minute. Give me a second. Let's return back to this one more sensitive. See, so you are a program. And when you get into a certain kind of programmic, that's a word, situation, in order to change that program and to reprogram yourself, deprogram and reprogram, you have to become absent of that environment or that atmosphere that you're at, that virtual reality, that present virtual reality that you're at, and go around a different virtual reality. Go outside, see some trees, look at the sky for a minute, check the clouds, breathe the air out there. Take a walk around the block or the neighborhood. Go for a drive. Go on your motorcycle, whatever it may be. Then return back. Because we're all programs. And you have to understand what programs and virtual reality is. So you are a program, and when you're going through a program like imbalance, change your reality. Go to a different virtual reality. The kitchen is a virtual reality. Outside is a virtual reality. The bathroom is a virtual reality. The bedroom is a virtual reality. Find yourself or put yourself in a different virtual reality to snap out of that program that was just happening. And then deprogram and reprogram yourself before you return back to that same setting. Okay? Or that previous setting. And the last one we'll touch upon for today is principle supports presence. To be as principle is to be present. So once again, principle was interaction, communication, contact. Um, yeah, just to name three, name a few. It keeps you in the present moment. You're not so fixed in your thoughts and your brain. I don't like her. I don't like him. She did this to me. He did that to me. I can't forgive her. I can't forgive him. She should know who I am. He should know who I am. They disrespected me. She disrespected me. He disrespected me. I remember when he did that. I remember when she did that. She thinks I forgot. He thinks I forgot. You get out the brain and you stay in the mind. You stay in the freedom. You stay in the liberator. You stay in the heart. You be true to your heart. You want to hug her, go hug her. You want to embrace him, go embrace him. You want to talk, just talk. That's what you guys like naturally doing. You have to know how to shut the brain off when you need to and just be mind. Be there. Be present. Principle doesn't have a brain. Principle doesn't have a body. It is bodiless. It is formless. It is brainless. It is the thing that just is as itself. It is in order for you to be. So that means that you are secondary. Your personality is secondary. What is primary. So basically, return back to that primary point of being. You owe it to yourself. Y'all owe it to yourself. Respect your true nature. Am I as I am, as you are. See you guys next time. Until then, keep you in vision. 1, 0.